Hello and welcome to the World Championship Series European Premier League season number 3. My name's Kyle Aris, alongside Apollo once again here to find out who is going to be advancing on to the round of 16. We're in the last leg here of the round of 32 to see who is going to make that round of 16 cut.
That's right. 12 players have already made themselves and put themselves into the round of 16. And that's pretty cool so far. And that means we are very close, as you say, to finishing up. And the race balance has been pretty awesome as well, to say the least. Getting into the round of 16, especially compared to last season where we had a bunch of Protoss players. Only 5 so far. And then we have 3 Terran players and 4 Zerg. Pretty well balanced, to say the least.
Yes, certainly so. We have, advancing from Group A in our previous broadcasts, 4GG and Targa over Naniwa. So already a little bit of an upset there.
Yeah, I mean that was where it all started, right? This is the season of favorites losing very fast, and Naniwa was the first one which started a chain reaction for some of the other groups too.
Yeah, Group B was a little bit more predictable in how it occurred, with Happy and Duck Duck advancing over TLO and Sase, another fan favorite there, falling out. Group C, we had Vortex and Showtime, and boy, did he put on a show.
Well, he did. He put on a glorious show in the likes of beating MVP twice in the same day. He was very, well, what he said, fortunate to do it once, but to do it twice is something special. Unfortunately for MVP, Season 1 champion does not make it into the Season 3 round of 16, and he's had a bit of a decline when it comes to playing in the Europe Premier League. But of course, that means Showtime does move on. Can he bring the same performances that he gave us in the round of 32 to the live show next week?
And then in Group D, we had Genius and Starbuck, of all people, advancing on over 2 huge fan favorites in the form of Lucifer and Grubby.
Yeah, Lucifer and Grubby dropping out was just the pinnacle of favorites losing, and especially because everyone, and like everybody, expected both of them to go through there. Genius struggling with latency from Korea, Starbuck being a relatively unknown for most of the viewers. But it's the other way around. Some may say that group is upside down, as we do have Genius, who passed the best or the most difficult barrier. The best part of that was him passing that, which means that he's going to make it to the round of 16 where he can really display his true skill, and hopefully he can do that. And I hope that Starbuck can bring it as well.
And then from upside down to the right side up in Group E, we had Wellmu and Thorzane advancing over Slivko and Bling. A little bit more predictable in how that ensued. And then a fine broadcast thus far was Group F, with Titan and Nurtio advancing over Hasuobs and Shuttle, which brings us neatly onto our next group here. It's going to be Group G, consisting of 4 pretty impressive players in the form of MMA, Baby Knight, Crass, and TAiLS. And man, MMA. Apollo, is he back?
He's close to being back. When he wins a tournament, I think we can all celebrate and high-five each other and say, yes, MMA is back. But he's bringing individual results that are worthy of people saying he is back. But for me, until he wins a tournament, he's not quite back there. He's had 2 semi-finals in the last couple of months, with a semi-final finish in the WCS Europe Premier League. Getting to the season finals was a great first step. And then everybody, and I know that everybody, watched DreamHack Bucharest this weekend. Oh, yeah. And oh boy, did he put on some of the best StarCraft we've seen from MMA in a very, very long time. 2-0 over Flash, 2-0 over Ryung, almost stopping innovation from breaking into the finals. That was a stellar weekend from MMA. I think everybody and anybody will expect nothing less than a first-place finish from MMA today.
I have to agree. He's looking really good right now. But another player here that looked very good in Season 1 was dubbed the Legend Killer, but in Season 2 wasn't able to make the cut in the end, is Baby Knight.
Yeah, Baby Knight is coming into this group, and if anybody follows him on Twitter, with his recent joining of Millennium, there's been a lot of pressure that's starting to mount up, because he's a player in this group, for me, and probably for others as well, who's expected to advance in top 2 with MMA. And that pressure can build up sometimes because people are expecting him to perform. He's playing for Millennium instead of his old team now. He's got new representation, and he wants to make it through and people are expecting him to make it through. If those nerds get to him, that may not happen, and which would be really unfortunate because he really is becoming one of the better Protoss players in Europe.
Yeah, I have to agree. And then moving on from our two big favorites here to our arguably two underdogs, we have a player that's not done too badly nationally, but on the international stage has yet to prove himself. He is NRS Crass.
Yeah, Crass comes into this group as, like you said, an underdog, and he is that underdog. But we already had an amazing performance from Showtime earlier on in this group, who's able to beat MVP twice. If he could just do half that work, I'm sure that he has a chance to make it through. Because I think that he's going to have a hard time against MMA, but anything's possible. But if he's able to beat TAiLS, which is very, very likely, and then also put in a performance against Baby Knight, Crass could slip through this group. And of course, remember, this is the WCS. This is the World Championship Series Europe Premier League. The favorites always lose.
Yep.
That is in Crass's favor as well.
That certainly is. And then we have our final underdog in the form of a cute little strawberry. He is MVP TAiLS, trying to get it going.
Yeah, MVP TAiLS faces a very difficult task today, like others before him, but others have succeeded. He must play from Korea. MMA, I forgot to mention earlier, does not play from Korea. He's in Germany. He's in the Acer house. He's still in Europe. He will play with no latency issues. But TAiLS, like Genius, who did make it through, TAiLS had this problem last season as well. He couldn't break the barrier of playing from Korea. If today he's able to do that, like others as mentioned before him, I fear that TAiLS could absolutely dominate when it comes to playing live next week, just like DuckDuck did. Nobody expected DuckDuck to win, but when he got to the round of 16, it changed. That could also happen for TAiLS today.
Yeah, it certainly could. I have to agree. If TAiLS is able to get over that first hurdle, he could do a lot here. So it'd be scary to see him at the live broadcast. But now we can check out the brackets and see exactly how today is going to unfold.
Yeah, so as you know, from watching the World Championship Series here, and of course not just our region, but the Korea region and the North American region as well, you should know how it works. But if you don't, it's very simple. Baby Knight and Crass is at the lower side of the bracket, and of course our first game being MMA and TAiLS. The winner of these two matches will move on to what we call the winner's match. The winner of the winner's match will move on in first place of today's group and advance into the round of 16 live show next week. The losers of that first two games, the initial sets, will drop down to the lower bracket. They will then head off against each other, and the loser, unfortunately, then finishes in fourth place. But the winner of that lower bracket, that loser's game, will go off to play against the loser from the upper bracket. And then, of course, they will play for the last spot to advance into the round of 16 from this group. 2 players out of 4 will make it through. Which ones today will they be?
We shall see. It's going to be a good one. This is a pretty cool group, I've got to say. But a big thank you once again to our lovely sponsor joining on for Season 3 in the form of Roccat. And we are also running the competition once again. So you have the opportunity to win yourselves a Kona Pure Optical Mouse from Roccat. All you have to do is hashtag Roccat, as well as hashtag WCS on Twitter, of course, and predict the second place finisher, not the first, the second place finisher of this group, as that series does come at the very, very end.
Yeah, so just the last game of the day, the winner of that, you get it right, you may have the chance to win the mouse. We've already had a couple of people that have won them already, and if you want to join that competition, it's very simple to do so.
All right, and that brings us neatly on to our first game of the day. It's going to be between MMA and TAiLS. 2 Koreans here, but one of them playing from Europe, whilst the other playing from Korea. MMA's been over here for DreamHack, obviously, been around for a little while. And these guys actually met in the round of 32 last season as well.
That's right. And well, I think it's very easy to say, for me, that MMA comes into this as the clear favorite between the both of them. He's been performing so well recently, and TAiLS, as you said, has a very difficult task ahead of him to be able to beat that barrier of playing from Korea to a European server, and then on top of that, goes up against an in-form MMA.
Yeah.
For me, this is nothing other than a 2-0 for MMA to show his dominance, get into the winner's match, and then come through to first place. But we'll say it again. This is the World Championship Series Europe Premier League, Claris. Things go wrong for favorites. It happens. It could happen again today. If MMA was to drop out, I would eat another hat on the show.
Uh-oh. On the show?
If MMA does not make it out of this group...
That's a big deal. That's
Lord,
a very big deal.
save this WCS.
It's a crazy series. It's a crazy series of events thus far. Never mind if MMA wasn't able to get out here. And again, let me just bring you back to the previous season between these two players. TAiLS brought a lot of aggression to the table, a lot. And I'm expecting no differently here. What about you?
I think that he will probably play the same.
Yeah.
But there is the off chance, which he says, last season did not work for me.
That's true.
Let me try a different approach. It's take 2 for TAiLS to try to make it into the round of 16. So I'm expecting him to probably play aggressive, but whatever the case, I think on the other side, MMA just plays a full, solid game, and I expect nothing other than dominance from MMA.
One thing that I feel that MMA comes into this group against the two Protoss in question in TAiLS and Baby Knight is that I think that MMA goes into this being very, very defensively minded in the earlier stages, more so than usual, because Baby Knight and TAiLS are two Protoss players that can throw in a lot of aggression. Obviously, TAiLS is probably going to do that unless he takes the duck route from Season 1 to Season 2 transition and then goes from crazy, crazy aggression to try a macro. But that would be tough against, as you said before, the Inform MMA.
It would be really, really tough. But one thing for sure, though, TAiLS, having dropped out in the round of 32 last season, had to play through Challenger. And if he's able to get through Challenger back into Premier League, that's a good task in itself. So if he's able to kind of bring similar performances like he had to get into Premier League in itself last season, there is a hope. There is absolutely a hope that this is possible for TAiLS to win this series. But it is low.
It certainly is. But will he be able to do it? We've already seen time and time again the upsets that can occur here in WCS Europe. But now spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner are Blue Protoss representing MVP in Korea. He is MVP TAiLS. And then up to the top right, we have our Red Terran performing oh so well in the past weekend. Can he step up to the plate once again, representing Acer in Korea? He is MMA.
And representing Acer, as you say, this guy is really, alongside Scarlet and alongside Innovation, making Acer one of the best teams.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, they lost versus Team Liquid this weekend in the SC2L finals, but there was a lot of other circumstances that came into that finals. Players were tired. Scarlet wasn't there. Ace is definitely a big, big team, and MMA's a part of that, and he really has been showing the results. With the practice with Innovation, being able to just have a good, solid support, no-nonsense support from Acer, MMA is slowly but surely returning to his former self. That is impressive if he's able to do that, and he is very, very close from doing that. If he wins this season and does well in season finals, there are no arguments for him not being back.
You're right, Apollo, and I have to echo those sentiments. I think that MMA in this season, never mind this group, has a really good shot if he continues on with those performances to do very, very well here. At least go to the season finals once again. But MMA here, sending out that SCV scout and taking no risks whatsoever against his opponent, making sure that he knows exactly what TAiLS is up to.
Absolutely. MMA is playing a one barracks command center style. It is weak versus some types of all-ins. So he decides to... What other players don't do is scout after the barracks. Some players don't even scout at all. He checks inside his main base to make sure there's nothing inside there as well as sending this SCV out. What he's going to be looking for here are the double gases taken. He even sees the end of a chrono boost in the first gateway. This means that there's going to be 2 zealots and then a stalker and probably more chrono boosts thrown into the gateway. So what he may eventually do is just throw the command center inside his main base and build Marines behind it. He may try to put it on the low ground, but build a fast bunker down there. That's the other option he has. But he knows that aggression is coming, so a little bit of aggression.
Yeah, and again, if you just cast your minds back to the previous series these guys had in the round of 32, we saw TAiLS not only going for a lot of aggression early on, but it was with, 10 gateway aggression. So really, really trying to ramp that up. MMA was able to deal with it pretty well with bunker placements, but... Now, I mean, MMA has a lot of intel as to what his opponent's doing, so he should feel pretty fine.
Yeah, and with 3 Marines on the other side of the map, he's going to micro his heart out against this Zealot. Spreads the Marines around, ring around the Rosie for the Zealot, and this is really nice from MMA. Taking 0 losses already, should get the Zealot kill easily. Unfortunately, loses that SCV. That's a bit annoying, and of course we'll have to rebuild the bunker immediately because there's another Zealot and a Stalker that's been crowded bouts. A second Stalker. But MMA says, yo, bro, want to play aggro? Let me build the engineering, bro.
He's on top of it, yo. He certainly is. TAiLS marching across with the Zealot now. The Stalker left behind to get rid of this engineering bay, but now TAiLS is left in a bit of a predicament. He has to... He's got so many minerals being banked up right now.
And 5 Marines on the other side of the map here are just looking for the Zealot. They already know it's coming, so this is just perfect here from MMA. Looking for another kill, and he could easily get it here. The Stalker and Mothership Core in the middle of the map, or just the Mothership Core, I think it is, that's in danger of 5 Marines. And one thing to note, TAiLS did take a second gas before even thinking about expanding here. So he actually has a lot of gas already, and he's already thrown down extra gateways in the Twilight Council. So just like before, he's playing aggressive. MMA's kind of feeling this out anyway, and he's just going to go for a straight-out blink all-in. But there's already a second bunker because of the delayed Nexus that MMA clearly knows happened. He's even trying to get a double scout, but that shouldn't really get anything. But MMA just 100% safe. He's just making sure he doesn't lose.
Yeah, certainly. And again, this is what we were expecting from TAiLS. Blink aggression on one base from a Protoss is and can be still quite popular. Even Baby Knight has exhibited some of this in recent times.
He gets
the scan and sees everything he needs to see.
And now a third bunker comes down, and he's just saying, you know, I hate you. Why are you trying to cheese me? One thing he has to be careful about, though, is the blink inside the main base, because, of course, there's a Mothership Core.
Yeah.
That could be dangerous.
It certainly could be.
If he was to blink around a little bit.
I think that's probably what TAiLS is going to do here. Just trying to blink in and trying to negate that. It's always very important as the blinker player to try and get in there, maybe try and snipe out the tech lab that's researching Stim, but I don't think MMA is going to give him that opportunity.
Well, he's already in the middle map. He's going to pick off a Stalker already. But with the scan going down, we already see that TAiLS has backed off. He's got the Nexus coming down. MMA knows with that scan that this is kind of, you know, Blink isn't ready. This is kind of okay to do this movement out. And to be honest, he's probably even expecting his opponent to pull out of this attack.
4 Stalkers behind this could wrap around those Marines, and he could lose a lot of these Marines if he's not careful, but at the same time, he's going to lose that Mothership Core. That goes down, throws down the Time Warp for caution, and just trying to kite a lot of this, but the Stalkers are going to clean up all of these Marines.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He's using the smoke really well there as well, by the way. Just trying to get as much damage down as possible. It is a little bit scary for MMA, but with so many units coming down already, the Marauder production beginning, Stim already, well, close to halfway being done. A third bunker has started to make sure he's safe after losing those units. From this position, though, MMA is heading towards a win. Unless we see damage dealt soon, once Stim is done, there's no way in. Once Medivacs are out, there's no way to win.
And losing that Mothership Core now, you know, he just can't blink into the main. So the one route that he would have to try and deal some damage, I don't think it's not there anymore. It's just plainly not. MMA is so fortified at the front. He's getting his starport up. There's going to be a lack of tech for a TAiLS. He's going to try and go forwards for this, and he will kill off one bunker. The SCVs need to come repair the second one, but the straight blink back.
And the micro's not even that good. You can tell that he's playing with problems. So this is not working at all. Stim is now 30 seconds away from finishing. Additional bunkers just in case he does try to blink inside the main base as well.
Oh, wow. Really good precaution here from MMA. And I mean, he can afford this. He has 42 workers to 27 right now. TAiLS trying to build a little bit of a meat shield with some Zealots, but if he wants to go for this push, he might get this bunker, but it's going to be at the cost of a little bit of damage.
Yeah, and at this point, Claris, this is not going to work. He's obviously stopped his pro production, as anyone that's watching the production tab has seen that he's just trying to build up an army, as you stated. Medivacs are almost out. Stim is done.
Yep.
He can even pull SCVs with this. Like, it doesn't really matter as long as he just gets over there and starts doing stuff.
And Stim really can be the nail in the coffin of this. Never mind the Medivacs. I mean, just this army pursuing how with the strength that MMA has behind it. Yes, he's down in terms of army supply, but again, the bunkers are going to help out considerably. He even has SCVs ready and waiting to repair this. That's a lot of Zealots, though. Going to try and move forwards to tank as much of this damage as possible. One of those bunkers will go down extremely rapidly. 44 army supply to 34. Second bunker falls as well. Still a few Zealots to actually tank this damage, but that bio doing a lot from the back behind these force fields.
Yeah, it would have been nice if the Marines had combat shields here, but even with SCVs being killed here, remember that there's hardly any other SCVs for TAiLS. TAiLS is trying to break through, though. +1 attack is soon to be. Widow Mines and more Marauders are on the way. He needs to be careful, though. It's not over yet, but it obviously is getting better and better here for MMA. The more that units die, the better position he's in. He's still got mules. He's chasing a lot of these down.
Yeah, I mean,
+1 attack is about to finish, too. 5 seconds away. Great forward blink.
That was very good, actually pursuing a little bit of that. But,
Yeah.
you know, with those Zealots, they just melt once the stim is done here for MMA,
Yeah.
so they really can't tank too much. TAiLS has a lot of firepower, but again, MMA, Widow Mines, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, think though, even though that looked really close, just think of how long it took to build that army for TAiLS. It's 11, 12 minutes in the game. He was warping in Zealots for ages, and he just doesn't have a high income. And right now, it's not easy to replenish that.
Well, he's going to go for it again here. This is still quite a strong army. He blinks forwards, trying to kill one of these medevacs off. Will get it. Trying to focus down medevacs and marauders where he can. In fact, the marauders are going to be the highest priority of the targets here. And, well, army supply is still 25 to 12 in favor of MMA. So, once again, despite losing a lot of SCVs, he's replenishing them behind this. He's lost 28 in total. So, TAiLS hasn't done too bad a job in that regard.
Yeah, he's done really well, actually. Considering he's done really, really well.
And the Marines just going to stem up once again and kill off the remaining Stalkers that are here. Again, TAiLS losing... There you go. GG. TAiLS losing that Mothership core during all of that. It would have given them that extra opportunity to maybe blink into the main, kind of go past those 3 bunkers at the very front. But he just didn't find time to replenish that and get it across the map once again.
Yeah, I mean, that attack was always destined to fail. It's so... Any gateway attack with stim... with Medivacs is not in good shape. It's difficult to break. And, I mean, MMA maybe made a couple of slip-ups here. Combat shields would have made a big, big difference. Widow Mines started earlier from the factory, just 1 by 1 would have made a big, big difference. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He picks up map number 1, and we kind of see how TAiLS wants to play this series. He's not going to change up, but maybe he does now, because these kind of attacks, they simply aren't working for him, unfortunately.
It's a tough spot to be in. It really is, because, again, last season we saw him going for this kind of aggression. And MMA, he always knew this was coming. He absolutely did. His second bunker was a little bit earlier than normal as well on that natural. He was playing exactly how we expected him to. That more defensive-minded play against these Protoss that are definitely going to, well, almost definitely going to put on the aggression.
Well, coming into this next map, Belcher Vestige, I would not be surprised, especially how TAiLS started off, because I think MMA was giving him the benefit of the doubt when it came to being super aggressive. I think 1 barracks command center is fine to do as long as you're very tucked up nicely with defense and scouting. But I feel that MMA will probably go for Reaper this game.
Yeah.
I think he'll go for Reaper to feel out his opponent a little bit more, maybe scout around the map with it as well, and just kind of look for any cheese coming in it. Belcher Vestige, it's a 2-player map. There's lots of proxy locations for the robotics facility, for the Stargate, for certainly any easy win. We could see an Immortal bust with a Robo on the other side of the map. We could see Oracle play come in. Could see, God forbid it, a Void Ray all in. But I think one build that TAiLS might do is not 1 base, but 2 base, and then go for an Immortal bust. Really fast off that fast robotics facility Protoss players usually make after the Nexus. That may be something that he goes for, simply because it's not as easy to scout and figure out. And maybe if MMA is lacking on defense and scouting, somehow it can work. But of course, any all-in that gets scouted or even close to being scouted will never work.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's another option as well. And if we cast our minds back to their previous series that they had in Season 2, the one map that TAiLS was able to pick up was Dark Templar play, which just caught MMA straight off guard. So TAiLS could throw that in again. It's a little bit of his specialty build that does come out from TAiLS from time to time. But I think MMA will probably be prepared for something like that against him. So it's a coin flip, really.
Is a semi-finalist from DreamHack Bucharest one of the most stacked, most difficult tournaments to StarCraft date? Like, in its entire history, that is one of the hardest tournaments, if not the hardest tournament I've ever seen.
That's true.
Is a semi-finalist from that tournament gonna lose to a Protoss player who is trying to cheese him out? Let's be realistic.
It's tough.
Is that gonna happen? If it does, then like I said, give me a hat. Not a Teamer one this time.
No.
Give me another hat. Give me Total Biscuit's hat. That I think
hat.
he doesn't have anymore. I think he gave it away. Or,
I think he did.
Sold it for charity or something. I don't know anyone else who has a hat. Only Total Biscuit and that Teemo hat that I found, I ate.
Sase has a hat. You can steal that. It's kind of far away, though. Tim has a hat.
Sase's a long way away, and he didn't make it to the round of 16.
Yeah, darn. All right, anyway, so we can now jump into game number 2 here, as we have Belcher Vestige on map, and spawning up to the top left-hand corner here as our red Terran representing Acer and Korea. He is MMA. Looking pretty good in game number 1 against this man, spawning down to the bottom right. representing Korea and MVP, he is TAiLS.
You think in this group, if anyone was to be Sonic, it would be MMA.
Yeah,
He's got
actually,
the hair.
You're right. Who's Amy then? The pink.
Baby Knight.
Baby Knight? Oh, Baby Knight, we're sorry if you're listening to this, but you are now Amy from Sonic. I think he'll be okay with that.
Can TAiLS join Sonic into the round of 16? Unfortunately, I don't think so.
He's got, like, Sonic's just going to carry him on his back. TAiLS was never as fast anyway.
Yeah, he was never as fast. To be honest, I actually preferred TAiLS more than MMA. I mean, oh my god, I'm getting twisted in my own joke. I actually preferred TAiLS than Sonic.
Yeah?
I like playing TAiLS.
I preferred Knuckles. You know, from Sonic and Knuckles?
Okay,
Dude,
yeah.
him flying across and, like, punching into the wall and stuff, he was cool.
Then, all right, let's change this then.
Okay.
We need a new Sonic because MMA is Knuckles.
MMA is Knuckles, actually.
MMA is Knuckles of the WCS this season. We need a new Sonic.
From the whole season or just this group?
This season.
This season.
4GG can be our Sonic.
Oh, yeah.
You've just now been picked as Sonic.
He is Sonic. He was the power drill, and that goes well with Sonic. Charging up in his little ball, going... And
it's 4GG, man, when he's on fire.
Best sound effect ever. All right, what's going on in this game,
No
Mr.
Reapers.
No
just
Reapers.
one Barracks Command Center again. Just relying on his... I mean, it's fine to do so. A player that, backs up this statement of going one Barracks Command Center against an aggressive Protoss player is Happy. Happy goes one Barracks Command Center every single game and doesn't lose to all-in. So it's not like MMA is being greedy or anything. Some players just like to get the Reaper early to scout more often. But he already sees Chronobus in the gateway again. And this will, as before, push him down a faster bunker than usual, and just making sure he macros his Marines well against this Zealot.
Yeah, full intel here for MMA, and back at home, he's just playing his standard game, throwing the command center down even on the low ground because, hey, it worked in game number 1. It's probably going to end up working here. The distances between Belshire Vestige from base to base and Derelict Watcher aren't that much different either. So MMA is going to have very, very similar amounts of time to prepare for this.
Yeah, he's going to have 3 Marines out as the Zealot arrives, just like before, so he shouldn't really take any losses against it, and especially because he's going to be building the bunker nice and early. To be honest, I don't even like the opening here from TAiLS. Like, it's not that good of an opening for him. He can definitely try to put some pressure on, but MMA's not really going to make a mistake. When that bunker's down, there is no way in. There is actually not a way to get in here.
And look at this, exactly the same situation.
May not
as
even
game
get
number
one
1.
swipe. He got 1 swipe off last. Okay, 1.
So saves the SCV. Yeah, MMA is in a better position than he was last game.
But one thing that you can commend TAiLS for doing is changing it up. He's gone for the Nexus fast instead of going for tech. But I would not be surprised to see MMA scan early. He's willing to sacrifice economy to make sure he knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, he is. And now TAiLS just moving out into the middle of the map with his Mothership Core, looking to maybe pick up a Marine kill or 2. Certainly doesn't want to lose his Mothership Core for a second game in a row. That would be catastrophic. But picks off a few Marines, kind of evening things up in regard to the resources loft, but that's it.
A lot of people with the naked eye would say the Marine push out there was a little bit risky. But what it did was to allow an SCV to escape. An SCV now has escaped and will find the Nexus, and I'm pretty sure it's even going to find the Twilight Council.
Yeah.
This is absolutely perfect from MMA. The movement out, once again, was only to scout. It was not to try to catch the units in the middle of the map. It's to allow this SCV to go in like he is now and go 1, 2, 3.
Kaboom.
There it is.
Yep, he finds what he needs to see.
So very easily now, this is very easy to play from this position.
Yep.
You just throw down the engineering bay and
I don't know what he's going to be able to do. He goes for the blink now. This was for a Dark Shrine, though, like as a preempt. So he was trying what I was alluding to at the very beginning, but with the scout, TAiLS has to change it up a little bit. But MMA behind this is flying, not as much as TAiLS.
He knows that his opponent's teched, right? So if your opponent's teching, he's going to need the Twilight Council to either finish Blink or build a Dark Shrine. So in that time, he knows it's not a fast gateway attack, so he actually decided to add on double Tech Labs and Reactor. He is not sure if it is Blink or DTs, by the way. It could be either. It could be either. And he has decided for double Marauder production. And to be honest, double Marauder production, this is set up really, really nicely. There's no fast engineering bay coming down, but I'm pretty sure we'll still see one just in case, or at least saving energy just in case, because it is hard to tell which one it is.
Yeah, it is, especially with the reduction of that Dark Shrine from Wings of Liberty to Heart of the Swarm. It is a little bit more difficult. And the Factory does get added on for MMA, so he's just playing out his standard game. Hasn't seen the pylon down to the bottom left-hand corner, but he can pretty much infer there's probably going to be some aggression coming from his opponent, because then again, that's what we've seen time and time again from TAiLS when he's going up against MMA.
Yeah, TAiLS is now just going to go all in. He's not building probes. He'll spend Chrono Boost in the gateways. And from this position, MMA is saving energy just in case it is DTs. He hasn't opted to go for the engineering bay. A scan comes down and actually reveals the lack of probes on the natural. And even the gases here to fake out, he should be able to read this as a fake out. Because that probe count should be higher, and also the Chrono Boost should be lower, so...
MMA is just moving around in between his main and natural to make sure that he doesn't get caught off guard by anything his opponent's got to do. He has to be a little bit careful in that regard, though, just in case Sentry would randomly pop up and try and force field that down. But the bunker's there for the protection in that regard. And MMA, he, I think, is in a good spot, unless, of course, that blink goes straight up. He's trying to focus down those Marauders, but the SCVs come off the line as well. Stim is not done, so this was his best opportunity, and it didn't work.
It didn't work, and now Stim will be done very soon, and the starport is on its way. There's another bunker being built. MMA has built like 3 bunkers now, like two in his natural, 1 in his main. He's not going to lose this. Combat Shield just started up as well. He's not messing up. He lost units, but it was a trade-off. TAiLS behind this is backing off. Is now using the gases and did keep probe production up. Has the robotics facility down, so he's not looking for a kill either.
Yeah, I do feel that this is TAiLS' best way to try and get himself back into this series. This aggression against MMA is just not going to work. He went into this group, this day, knowing that there was going to be some aggression coming, let alone actually just witnessing it here. So MMA is preparing himself turrets as well. Double forge for TAiLS behind this to try and get this going a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's going to play really, really greedy from this point. What he ideally hopes happens is that he can keep MMA back for as long as possible. Maybe MMA stops his SCV production. Stuff like this. There's a DT coming in case the follow-up of DTs after the blink play, because it's obviously a very common follow-up here. But what we're going to see now, as Combat Shields finishes, MMA will simply move out. For now, he's just going to send a single Medivac and wait. But he has a massive timing to hit, let's just be honest here.
Yeah, he does. His
Before
armor supply
Colossus is ready.
Yeah, there's a Warp Prism even on the way here for TAiLS to try and continue with the aggression, which I think that's a pretty good option to try and keep his opponent on the back foot and try and buy himself a little bit of time here. But that Medivac is going to be penetrating the defenses pretty soon, and this is going to keep TAiLS on the back foot more so than anything.
MMA been a little bit sloppy with his supply depot building placement and stuff. He just hasn't been building them. The Medivac there, I'm pretty sure that was to catch his opponent who was still sitting outside his base or something, saying, all right, if he's going to camp outside my base with units and stalkers, I'll just drop him. But that's not the case here, as TAiLS had retreated. But the first Colossus is on its way. If this first Colossus can get out, there is still a hope here for TAiLS not to fall too far behind in this game.
MMA is trying to pile on the pressure at the front, and he didn't see the Robo or the Robo base, so you're right. This could do something.
Oh, the Warp Prism. It's going to walk into
it's going to walk straight. Oh, he turned back.
Lucky you.
Very, very lucky there. Does not spot that in the end. The Observer's well placed as well for TAiLS to try and anticipate any kind of army movements in his opponent's main base. So once he sees this at the very front, he can just dive right on in.
Yeah, nice move here by TAiLS. Really nice move. But can he keep the defense at home strong too? The first Colossus is out. He's got quite a few Zealots there. A drop inside the main base, spreading him a little bit thin.
I'm trying to keep these Stalkers as well as a few units moving around, but TAiLS actually divided up his units very well there. He knows that his opponent has a consistent army supply to now try and threaten on multiple angles, but at the same time, he's going for his own drop as well, and actually not doing too badly.
No, not doing too badly. The Vikings are already out because they were getting ready for the Colossus production, and the Warp Prism is gone. And the Zealots didn't really do anything here, unfortunately. They killed a few, but the one good thing is 2-2 is on its way here for TAiLS. And MMA hasn't been able to break his opponent yet when it comes to being able to drop to do big damage. So from this position out, MMA just needs to try to delay his opponent from taking a third. If he takes a third, maybe look to Stim to kill it, drop in the main base again. The longer he delays a third from this point, the better the game becomes for him. There's no longer looking to do damage, it's looking to slow the third.
Do you believe that MMA here, and assuming his opponent is just going to be aggressive from the very word go and never stop, has slightly taken a misstep in his upgrades? But do you think also that he's compensated for it with just sheer macro?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is going to be okay for MMA here. His third base is down. He's getting mining. TAiLS sees this. He's trying to get his third as well. But I mean, what can TAiLS do to try and ride this game out? Just carry him with Colossus production?
He needs to make the switch to Temple Archive soon. But I'm looking at MMA, and I feel that he may. He started SCV production again. So he may actually try to go for an SCV pull here. But it is, I would say, not recommended. There's no need to. You can beat this guy. You don't need to kill him easily like Innovation does.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because there is a big timing for him to hit with SCVs if you pulled them now. Absolutely, because there is no Templar Archives on the way yet. There is only 3 Colossus, which isn't very difficult for 10 Vikings to kill. So even without an SCV pull, he may be able to win the game anyway. It's just...
Yeah. We've seen time and time again MMA's, macro Terran just being able to win out against Protoss with sheer strong macro. And he's actually just going to go for the engagement straight away, takes down one of the Colossi. The second one will end up falling very quickly.
Yeah.
There's not enough Stalkers to bring them down.
There's not. And the final Colossus will die as well, which means the Marine Marauder's just going to kill everything at this point. The third will go down absolutely. And unfortunately for TAiLS, opting to go Blink, yes, he caught up in the game, but he was never equal and probably never in the lead in this. And we can see it showing.
A strong ground army for TAiLS, but without the Colossi backing them up, it's probably not going to be enough here. The Marauders just stay alive for too long whilst those Stalkers try and bring them down. And the Blink back in desperation here with another Colossus rendezvousing with this. All the Marauders need to do, though, is to just stim up again and chase that down.
Yep, a heavy Marauder count. Vikings at a beautiful count as well. And MMA just says, I am going to go through this group in first place, and this is just step number 1.
It certainly is. So MMA taking that first victory pretty convincingly. There was no denying that was going to be quite trivial there for MMA in the end. Maybe 1 or 2 slight hitches in that last game, but aside from that, he made it look pretty good.
Yeah, if he brought SCVs, it would have been even more one-sided. It was just maybe there was the off chance it didn't work, which is why he didn't, and he was just continuing through with his +1 air weapons, his +2 attack, and so on. But MMA, as expected, against TAiLS here, picks up the first victory, and we'll move on to the winners match. Unfortunately for TAiLS, goes down again, like last season, to the losers match immediately here in this round. And things obviously are very, very difficult because he would have to go up against Crass and Baby Knight, maybe depending on who wins that, and then another game. It will be hard for TAiLS to advance out this group.
And that means our first series is done. We shall go on to our second one in a second. It's actually going to be 2 foreigners in the form of Baby Knight and Crass. So join us after the break when we'll see who advances on to play against MMA.